I did my project on inequality in education disabled students in the school system. The issue. The American school system does not have equality for all the students, especially disabled students. The school system does not prioritize disabled students' learning. For instance, schools do not give the correct treatment to students in special education. A special education teacher named Nikki Woodward from Rhode Island, who has been teaching for 24 years, explains the issue that specifically happened to her cousin. It is easy for a specialist to say, "Oh, he's a black kid with behavioral issue. He has to have ADHD." After receiving the right diagnosis and placement, Woodward's cousin is now a junior in high school and thriving, currently touring colleges. We need all educators to check their own bias about how they show up and allow perceptions of the community they live in or outside of the impact the way they make recommendations for kids. Alvarez, 2024. Schools are failing to create an exclusive environments for students like Woodward's cousin. All students deserve to learn and need to be accommodated to according to their needs. Students with disabilities are often overlooked and not given the same resources as their fellow students. There are many forms of disability, and it is important for teachers to acknowledge them. Recognizing the student's disability is so necessary in the classroom because it is a part of their identity. For example, there is cognitive disabilities like autism, ADHD, Down syndrome, dyslexia, and more. Additionally, there are physical disabilities too. Examples of physical disabilities are cerebral palsy, MS, amputation, epilepsy, and more. Centers for Disease and Control Prevention 2025. In our society, disabled people view themselves as inferior. In Readings for Diversity and Social Justice, this mindset is explained by Willie V. Bryan. They begin to view their life conditions as been deprived of basic human rights, similar to other minority groups. They also begin to think of themselves as oppressed and disfranchised. Page 177. Teachers must acknowledge these challenges and create an exclusive classroom that supports all learners. This would empower and help disabled students succeed. In addition, teachers need to remember that learning is not a privilege for students, it's a right. Disabled students receiving unequal treatment isn't new, as it's been happening for years. Schools have struggled with being inclusive for students with disabilities in the classroom. In the 1950s, some states refused to accommodate students with disabilities. In the American education system and the treatment of disabilities in America, a history discusses how a disabled student was not given the education she was entitled to. Judith Heman, a well-known disability rights activist, was denied entry into her elementary school during the 1950s because the school district deemed her as a fire hazard for being mobilely impaired and having to use a wheelchair. Barrett, 2023. This shows that disabled students were not viewed as humans. Instead, they were viewed as an inconvenience. Heman was denied of her education, and it shows that the school system was built on exclusion. The American school system still has some of these ableistic aspects today. In today's world, disabled students at the university level receive unequal treatment too. Many disabled students feel embarrassed and ignored when their professors cannot accommodate to their needs. When this occurs, they are not getting the education and tools to succeed. In Readings for Diversity and Social Justice, Ali Grasgreen illustrates how a college student was not given the resources that they needed. I literally had a professor say, "Well, I never had that one before, a student of that kind before, so I don't know what to do." Page 502. Additionally, I have facility who are more dismissive of something like bipolar disorder than what they'd be something of cerebral palsy. They don't see it as being a challenge. The staff at the university lack awareness and training about the students with disability. This can lead to assumptions and the disabled students not being taken seriously. This attitude contributes to the academic oppression that prevented disabled students from reaching their full potential. The Passage of Education for All Handicapped Children Act in 1975 is one of the first things that helped create an inclusive classroom for disabled students. This law protected the rights of disabled students, and it also required schools to accommodate the students' needs and improve the education for disabled students of all ages. This law's name was later changed to Individuals with Disabilities Education Act in 1990. Since the passage, This act has helped develop special education and other necessary programs for students with disabilities. U.S. Department of Education. The first step that the school system can take to end ableism in education is to create an inclusive environment that supports all students. Disability needs to be included in schools' diversity. This means that all staff at the school district would need to recognize that disability is an important part of identity and learn how to work with it. In Readings for Diversity and Social Justice, Thomas Hare explains how schools can do this. Encourage disabled students to develop and use skills and models of expression that are most effective and efficient to them. Page 515. Schools need to support different ways of learning and communicate rather than expecting all students to learn the same. This flexibility would allow disabled students to feel capable of learning because they have the correct tools to learn to their needs. In addition, teachers must learn how to not accept their implicit bias when working with disabled students. Implicit bias creates unfairness to students because it is unconscious thoughts that perceive on how teachers interact with their students. University of Hawaii. Implicit bias can influence how teachers treat students and how it could lead to them to underestimate their abilities. This will result in unequal treatment. Therefore, it is important for teachers to recognize their implicit bias in the classroom because it will always exist. Art Hamlet offers how teachers can control their implicit bias in a positive manner. There is no way to dismantle implicit bias without controlling the first stage of the process. Instead, accept the challenge of venturing into the unknown with an open mind and open heart. Page 54. Teachers need to be self-aware and open-minded with students, including those with disabilities. By addressing their own bias, teachers can create a more supportive environment. This would help the stigma behind disabled students, and they can be seen as strengths instead of by their limitations. Lastly, another concept teachers can do for their students is to build rapport. Rapport helps students feel supported and gives a positive and connecting relationship between the student and teacher. This is essential for disabled students because it creates a safe environment where students feel comfortable expressing their needs and challenges. Hamlet mentions how teachers can build rapport. The most powerful way to build rapport is by listening. Listening communicates a sense of respect for and an interest of the student's contribution. Research says that 70% of communication is nonverbal. Page 77 and 78. For disabled students who may struggle with communication, will feel better and have more success with a teacher who listens to them. When teachers build rapport with their students, it fosters a strong relationship and allows the teacher to better understand their students' needs. This kind of connection can make students with disabilities feel valued and heard.